Imagine that you can give yourself from 5 or 10 years ago some tips and feedback. What would you say? Well, exactly that's what I'm going to do in this video. I'm going to watch some training clips of mine from 8-9 years ago. I will react to them and also share a couple of tips and feedbacks that a younger Neil possibly would have appreciated. But before starting this video, if you find yourself at the beginning of your movement journey of acrobatics, freeform movement, and also you need a little bit more guidance, the same guidance that I would have appreciated back then check out my Acrobatics Lab online programs, or in fact any of my Finding Flow online programs that will help you to dive deeper into your practice. But now, let's start. Right, let's start with the first clips. This one is from 2015, and in this one I managed to do my first full backwards macaco. So it's quite an interesting moment. Let's check it out. Right, so pretty dope. The facility obviously is great to study these on both sides. That was also sick. And yeah, I still remember to this day. Couple words of encouragement for you also. If you're also on your macaco journey, this one can take a while, okay? And I vividly remember how many times I didn't manage to jump backwards, but really went very low, horizontal around the side. And I still remember that I was super happy when I nailed them here. But already there's a couple things that I would have done differently now. So basically what I'm trying to go for, as you can see here, I simply sling myself backwards in order to make the full macaco. I land with my second arm and then my legs simply crash down. And while this is a nice movement and obviously a great start to the journey, it lacks refinement. So what I'm searching now in my macacos is, instead of throwing simply backwards and catching myself somehow with the second arm, I put much more emphasis on my main supporting arm. And I actually teach it also nowadays that you can do, instead of a 2-arm macaco backwards, just a 1-arm macaco. If you want to learn this one, check out this video up here. It's quite a nice breakdown that I made. You will enjoy it. But now, what I was referring to in the video. At first, when learning a macaco, people really try to go fully backwards. When doing that, the only intention really is place arm and everything wants to go here. What I'm now focusing on when I do my macacos is that instead of pulling my body backwards all the way, I think more about bringing my body on top of this arm. So it's less a straight line backwards motion, more a diagonal version, so my body really has the chance to be on this arm only. It strengthens my arm, it prepares my arm for future variations. And a great variation to study, candle macacos, where I really try to do a macaco and really extend my legs all the way up towards the sky, something like this. Right, next up we got the Gumbi. It's basically a cartwheel, but you are arching your back fully while doing it. It's quite an interesting video. It's also from 2015, and I managed to do a couple repetitions there without having practiced this move. Then 4 years later, when I really studied this move, I completely had to relearn it from scratch. So I completely lost the move and then basically had to relearn it. Quite interesting. Let's take a look at it. Done in a CrossFit facility where I worked and trained, and as you can see, it's quite beautiful. It's quite low, quite arched, but of course a couple things that I would have done differently nowadays. The first thing is my legs are really flailing in the air and simply landing afterwards. Nowadays I'm really putting a lot of emphasis on how I pull my legs down to the floor again, okay? This simply gives me more continuity, more flow, more options in practice. And the second thing is, when landing, as you can see, my leg is just landing, landing, zero. But honestly, this one is quite good. So, Gumbi, the two things that I was referring to. Number one, pulling my leg into the Gumbi, but then directly to the floor again. So, while going for my move, I already try to have this emphasis on this leg wants to go up and over directly. So a continuous pathway from one side of the floor towards the other. After landing, really deciding, where do I want to go? How do I want to end the move instead of just somehow ending it? So the whole move is much more connected in itself. It really has a lot of intention. And this is great if I then want to combine certain things. So for example, I can go from a macaco, land, and directly go into my Gumbi with a lot of sharp transitions. Now, 2016, the year where I dedicated myself much more to the study of acrobatics. 2016 was really a year where I felt a very strong pull to this practice and I wanted to dive deeper. And this one is quite interesting because it shows the process of me doing a roll. Okay, not any roll, but it's a forwards roll, right? Catching a ball that I juggled before. And it's interesting to me because rolling, as you may know, nowadays is such a huge, fascinating topic for me to study. So seeing rolls from these many years ago is quite interesting. So yeah, what I was going for is kind of juggle a ball or throw a ball and then catch it after rolling. And yeah, it's very interesting to see this roll right here. It's basically a gymnastics roll now, where I simply go forwards. As you can see, I'm using both of my hands, head tucks in, and I'm doing a roll. So the first thing that I'm noticing is that my hands are very close to my legs, a very compressed roll. Okay, this is something that I try to avoid nowadays because it makes the roll very hectic and also sometimes a little junky. You tend to fall more onto your back, okay? So here's another video where I'm going for some rolling practice. CrossFit Munich in the background. And yeah, very interesting to look at these. Better than before, but still there is this tendency to really roll in a more straight version, right? I'm already going for one arm inside, but then really my head is basically still doing this gymnastics version, whereas now I really try to put my head very much out of the way, so I have a lot of space for rolling here. But quite a fun way to practice your rolls. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Softer floor so you don't hurt yourself and you can actually get these repetitions in. I recently released a video, it's called The Art of Rolling, and it's, I think, the best video I've ever created. Find it up there and prepare to be blown away. So for the rolling, the most important thing for me is, instead of taking it into a gymnastics roll, so really going forwards, something like this, turn it into a diagonal roll, so creating a lot of space so my body can really go where the space is, and then my head, instead of doing this, it is doing that, so I can do much smoother rolls. Let's take a look at a clip where I actually try to combine a couple of movements and create a little sequence, okay? So coming from CrossFit, I was very used to just doing one thing at a time and not really stitching something together, yet alone speak about expressing myself through free-form movement, okay? I was inspired by capoeiristas back then, so as you can see right here, I use that also as a setup, and I'm throwing myself and I try to combine a little something right here. So let's see what really is going on in this clip. So quite interesting, as I said, in the setup, I used mainly this capoeira stance, let's say, the ginga, and as a way to prepare myself. And then I was going for a reversao, I think, which is a move where you don't want to fly, but actually it looks quite cool, it looks quite fun, and I really managed to find an interesting shape here. But of course, because it's that explosive, there is quite a harsh landing, which then hinders you from flowing quite nicely. And then completing this with a macaco. The macaco is looking already better than initially, 1 year before that, but still there is this tendency using both arms and really going for the backwards macaco without any refinements in there. But it's quite interesting to see a couple of the first tries to build a sequence. We got more sequences and flows. This one I remember I was quite proud of. There was a lot of arching, already a very nice back walkover. Basically the idea was going back and forth with this one. Back and forth and back and forth, always using different things and tricks. Very interesting to look at this because it's very different to the style of training right now, and also the choice of moves is very, very different. So let's see what I'm going for. So the first one is this very nice backdrop into bridge walk over. Then here, this forwards walk over, forwards cartwheel, very interesting. I also place my hands kind of like in a handstand, very close together, whereas nowadays I really reach much further with one arm, so I can step out nicer. But nice to see already this arch happening back then. And then I was going, yeah, for a back handstring. And we have a nice little kipping thing, I think from my head even. That's quite nice. By the way, you can still see a lot of tendency here, how I keep my head very rigid now. I come up, head is very rigid, and also before, here, head very rigid, here, very rigid. And this is something that I needed to work on so much to really let go of my head and my neck, so I can really go for flows and have all of these motions right here, kind of like as if my head would be the tail of the movement. And then to finish it off, we got a backflip. Also a move that I never really practiced so much even now, but of course, this is not a very nice backflip, but I made it and I think the sequence is quite cool. Already in the Gumbi video, I spoke about how I want to have a lot of intention in my movements, and this especially is true if I then want to build sequences and flows with the moves. Where exactly am I placing my hands? Where exactly am I going with my feet? All of these will dictate what I can do afterwards and if that is smooth or not. So in the videos that you have just seen, there was not so much intention yet. I was still learning, but that is really something to keep in mind. Whenever you're doing a move, try to already estimate where exactly would you need to place something else you can make, so you can make a very nice transition. And then the thing about the neck, I know it's so hard for so many people to get rid of this tension here, also in moving, okay? So what I can already recommend is to practice in simple things like a cartwheel or a very low cartwheel, how you can kind of lead into the motion with your head, something like shoop, and then how you can follow out of the motion also by kind of pulling your head away. So already here you can practice this. Chung 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 chung, chung 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 chung. Higher cartwheel, the same thing. Ta 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 ta, ta 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 ta. Well, that was something quite interesting to look at old footage, and it's quite nice that I have so much training footage, so many videos of myself practicing from even way before that. So if you're interested in these type of videos, just let me know in the comments. Do you want to see another one? Because I have footage from even 2008 and 2009, so that's very long ago, where I was not even practicing acrobatics or anything like that. I was just figuring out my body, a little bit of strength training. Quite interesting and also quite entertaining video. So let me know if you want to see that, and I will for sure create another video. It's always fun to look at these videos, and that's also something for you to take away. Record yourself and put it somewhere so you can see it in 5 years and 10 years and 15, 20 years, to see progress, to see how you were back then. I think it's wildly fascinating. Hope you enjoyed this video. Happy practice to you. You know everything already. If you want to study deeper, check out the video description. You will find everything there. Subscribe to the channel if you are not a subscriber yet, and see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.